The last thing Captain Alara Wynn remembered was the searing heat of plasma fire and the weight of a small, trembling body pressed against her chest. She had thrown herself over the cub without thinking, her combat armor absorbing the brunt of the orbital strike. The child's golden eyes had looked up at her in terror as the world turned white, then black. Now those same eyes stared down at her. But they were no longer the eyes of a frightened cub. They belonged to a warrior, scarred and battle-hardened with ceremonial marks etched across the ridge of his feline features. The creature towered over her medical pod, his massive frame encased in advanced combat armor that hummed with energy shields. "Captain Wynn," the voice rumbled, deep and measured. "You have returned to us." Ilara's throat was dry. Her body felt strange, lighter somehow, yet stronger. She tried to sit up, and the medical pod's restraints released with a hiss. Around her, the room was a chaos of activity. Alien soldiers rushed past, their movements precise and purposeful. The wall shook with distant explosions. Where am I?" Her voice came out hoarse. "On Cathara Prime, my homeworld." The alien placed a clawed hand over his chest in what appeared to be a gesture of respect. "I am Karen, commander of the 7th Fleet. You knew me once, though I was much smaller." Memory crashed over her like a tidal wave. The colony world, the evacuation, the Catharan refugees fleeing their own planet's civil war, seeking sanctuary among human settlements, the extremist faction that had followed them, intent on genocide. And the cub so small she could hold him with one arm caught in the crossfire. "You're..." The child. "But that was only 23 cycles ago. For you, Captain, it has been mere moments. For us, it has been a generation." Karin's ears flattened against his skull, an expression she somehow understood as grief. "Your body was destroyed. But your neural pattern, your consciousness, we preserved it in quantum stasis. We have spent 2 decades mastering the technology to bring you back." Another explosion rocked the facility. Closer this time. Why now? Alara swung her legs off the pod, testing her new body. It responded perfectly, too perfectly. This wasn't biological. This was synthetic, enhanced, built for war. "Because they have returned." Karen's voice carried a weight of barely contained rage. "The purists, the same faction that tried to exterminate my people, they have grown in strength, building an armada in the dark spaces between systems. 3 days ago, they launched a full-scale invasion of Cathara Prime. They seek to finish what they started." He turned to a holographic display that materialized in the air. It showed a planetary map covered in red indicators, enemy positions surrounding a single blue dot. "This facility is the last stronghold in the northern continent. 50,000 civilians shelter here, including younglings. The purists will not take prisoners." Ilara felt something cold settle in her chest. Not fear, certainty. She had died once protecting the innocent. Apparently, death hadn't changed her. "What do you need me to do?" Karen's eyes gleamed. "What humans do best, Captain. The impossible." He gestured, and a squad of Catharan soldiers entered, carrying equipment. They moved with reverence, laying out a combat suit that made her breath catch. It was human design, but evolved. Fusion-powered, adaptive armor plating, integrated weapon systems that responded to neural commands. The insignia on the chest was unmistakable, the United Earth Defense Force emblem, modified with Catharan symbols intertwined around it. When word spread across the galaxy that humans had made first contact with the Cathara, that a human soldier had died defending one of our cubs, it changed everything, Karen explained as Alara suited up. The armor flowed over her synthetic body like liquid metal, sealing perfectly. Your species became legend. Dozens of worlds sought alliance with humanity. Your people's reputation for protecting the weak, for standing against impossible odds. It inspired a coalition. But the coalition couldn't arrive in time, Alara guessed. They are 3 days away. We must hold until then. Karen's tail lashed behind him. The purists have 100,000 soldiers surrounding this position. We have 8,000. Ilara checked her weapon systems. Plasma rifles, kinetic accelerators, fusion grenades, all charged and ready. Information flooded her consciousness through the neural link. Tactical data, enemy positions, friendly unit status. Her new brain processed it all without effort. 12-to-1 odds. She smiled, and it felt natural despite the synthetic muscles. "I've faced worse. That was a lie." She had never faced worse. But Karen didn't need to know that. They emerged onto the command deck. The facility was built into a mountain, its defensive batteries firing streams of energy into the ash-dark sky. Below, across a scorched plain, the purist army advanced, a tide of armor and fury that seemed unstoppable. Alara stepped up to the tactical display, and every Catharan officer turned to look at her. She saw hope kindle in their eyes, hope that she wasn't sure she could justify, but then she remembered the weight of a small body against her chest, the trust in those golden eyes as the world ended. She had saved one life that day. Now that one life had spent 23 years building the technology to bring her back, preparing for this moment. "Commander Kairin," she said, her voice carrying across the silent deck, "I'm going to need detailed schematics of the Purist command ship, a drop pod rated for orbital insertion, and a very large bomb." Karin's ears perked forward, and his fangs showed in what she recognized as a predator's grin. "Captain Wynn, I have been hoping you would say something like that for 23 years. The battle for Cathara Prime had begun, and humanity had just entered the war. Alara had died once defending a child. She would not waste her second chance at life. The Purists wanted to finish their genocide? They would have to go through her first, and as every species in the galaxy had learned, going through a human was never easy.